Incoming transmission.
Hey everybody, welcome to the second transmission of the Outpost Nerd. And I'm the nerd of the Outpost. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about Star Wars today. Love it or hate it, Star Wars is an integral part. It's one of the biggest parts of our world today, of our culture. For years, George Lucas created this amazing thing, and for years, we've all enjoyed it. And today, I'm going to talk about the latest piece of Star Wars entertainment to come out and entertain us. I'm going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. What can I say about Kenobi? For years, ever since Revenge of the Sith, we've all wanted more of Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan. We got very little of the character in the original series. We really only saw a major story dealing with him in episode 4, New Hope. And even then, it was just first maybe 30 minutes of the show. And Alec Guinness, he really brought an air to the character. You saw him as this regal. He felt like a knight. He made the character feel like a knight. And you thought, how did he get to the desert planet of Tatooine? You really didn't find that out till pretty much episode 1, where we find young Obi-Wan, played now by Ewan McGregor, who's played him since then. And we saw his story from young Padawan, opinionated, almost obnoxious to his master. You saw a little tense exchanges between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, but you still also felt a mutual respect. You felt that even though Obi-Wan would give his views, he would, at the end of the day, do what his master Qui-Gon said. And we saw him grow from the learner to the diplomat to a warrior. Obi-Wan was known throughout the Clone Wars as the diplomat. Anakin was the warrior. Obi-Wan was the diplomat. Shirts. What's up, brother? Yes, you are strong. I will send the Inquisitors after you. We cannot let any Jedi get away. But then, all of a sudden, between episodes 3 and 4, 20 years. And that's where we come to Alec Guinness. But Obi-Wan answers what happened in those 20 years. Now, the question is, did we need those questions answered? Was it important that Disney make this show? I honestly don't think so. One big criticism I have of the show was you knew where everyone was going. She's on her way. She's on her way, shirts. But you didn't get any sense of urgency because we knew where the characters were going to end up. We knew Obi-Wan's fate. We knew Anakin's fate. But it was one thing I did like, I liked seeing more of Leia's story. We got a lot of Luke's background more so than Leia's, and with with Leia, we saw a strong young woman who, how can I describe Leia? She felt so out of place in this world, in her world of, you know, um, diplomats, of royalty, of um, and you saw her treated very. She was an outsider in a in a in a world that where the way you appear to people is extremely important. Yeah, she was an outsider. You know, she was of course, she was adopted. We all saw how the system really didn't work for her. She felt that the system was too rigid for her. And one thing I liked about the show was, while you saw this, some would call, I don't think so, but some would call her a brat. But she was very strong. She not only did she learn from those around her, she learned a lot from, I believe, from Obi-Wan. But she also changed from her interaction with them. She saw ways how she could work within the system and slowly change it instead of changing herself to fit the system, which I was very. I liked how her story played out. And one thing is, for a 10-year-old, she was quick on her feet. She could improvise. She got one of my favorite scenes is when they're on the transport and you see Obi-Wan freeze in front of the stormtroopers when questioned, and she just jumps right in. And pretty much saves them. She's a very good character, and one thing I liked is how they took a character that we all knew is a very strong woman in Princess Leia that you see played by the late great Carrie Fisher, and we see where she started. We see how the incidents within the series has really sets a strong foundation for the character that we've come to know. The sense of justice, the sense of honor, and the sense of royalty that we always felt from Princess Leia. And so getting off from that, one thing I'm going to be doing is I'd like to check Rotten Tomatoes. What's Rotten Tomatoes saying about this series? Let's see. What did they give? 83% from the reviews. I don't know. That's kind of low for wow, that's kind of low for this kind of show for Star Wars. And the audience score, that's fairly low for a score for a Star Wars show. That surprises me out of, let's check the score details. Okay, this is not one. Oh, yeah. That's detailed. Okay. But wow, that's surprising. We're an IGN, they're gonna probably fawn over the show no matter what. But yeah, they're pretty much the same thing. They're asking, how do you create jeopardy when we know the fates of almost all characters before pressing play on the first episode? It's just, that goes again to my question. Was this show necessary? Yeah. America Shirts, check out his stuff with our buddy Cool Frog. They do a lot of great shows, quite a lot. They make me feel ashamed with how much I stream. But yeah, Cool Frog, this is the problem, Cool Frog. I'm at Shirts, my bad. When you have so many writers doing so many things, you don't know what your left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So sometimes you'll get that doubling of events. I mean, you're talking about during the final duel with Obi-Wan, Vader having his mask cut out. Well, they did the same thing in Star Wars Rebels when he fought Ahsoka. And I think that just shows, Disney is hiring a lot of young writers, writers who really don't have that much experience. That's okay, but you still need to mix it up. Get some writers with 20, 30 years experience. Plus, you really need writers who know the material. A lot of franchises today, you get writers who will openly say, I don't know anything what's going on before I come in. They don't want to know. It's very frustrating because we get that kind of stuff where stuff repeats. Now, I will admit I think they were trying to recapture that emotion that we felt when Ahsoka did it first. When we finally saw the face that we grew up with in episodes 1 through 2 and 3, peeping under that mask, that German stormtrooper kind of evil mask. Well, it's not a mask per se, it's a ventilator. He can't breathe without it. Shirts, he'll die without his suit. So that's the reason. But yeah, I agree. They need to do something. And you'd think, why would he have all his controls on his chest? That's one thing I've never understood about Darth Vader. He has his entire suit's control on his chest. And what I've been wondering for years finally happened. We have, in the final episode, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. In the final episode, Obi-Wan finally stands up to Vader. From the whole series, we've seen him running from him, but we finally get this, I think was a pretty amazing lightsaber duel. But okay, let me state this. A lot of times, and this has been a story element for a lot. We've seen this in a lot of old Star Wars games like KOTOR. We saw it recently in Fallen Order, where a Jedi will have such a traumatic experience that they cut themselves from the Force. We saw it with I can't remember the character's name in Fallen Order, but she cuts herself off from the Force, so she loses all her powers. We almost saw Obi-Wan like that. We saw, because throughout the series he hasn't used the Force in so long. I think the Force is, for Jedi, is a muscle that if you don't use it, it atrophies, and that's kind of what was happening to Obi-Wan. But at the end, you finally see him come back to his pretty much his full power, and with just a slice, he's just, at this point, he's kicking Vader's ass. It was one of the best lightsaber duels, if not the best lightsaber duel ever. To me, it's up there with the Dooku Yoda fight in Episode 2, which up until this point was undoubtedly my favorite lightsaber duel. And he just slices it, and you see, then that's when Vader starts weakening, is when he slices the control panel. That is such a that's just a target on his chest. And Obi-Wan hit a bullseye when he took it out. It looks cool, but is it practical? And I know some people are going to say, well, suspension of belief, but if you think about it, Palpatine did a lot of things to weaken Vader's. Like, Vader in a lot of stories can't use Force lightning due to his prosthetics. No, hey, Shirts, you're helping me out, dude. Don't apologize for chats. They try, but they just keep knocking his hat off. It's like if someone made a movie of Lincoln, and every other day there was a bullet through the top. Yeah, it's like I said, for dramatic effect, which I think is pretty much used up at this point. I'm hoping, if there are rumors of a season 2 of Kenobi, if they ever duel again, I'm hoping they do something different, because we've seen, and if I remember right, it was the cut that Obi-Wan makes in his helmet is the same exact cut that Ahsoka makes. It's on the same side, if I remember right, when they were on the Sith Pyramid in Rebels. And one thing, I'm going to talk about one of the other duels in this. Through the last few episodes, we had a flashback of a practice duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And we saw, we see that Anakin's still a Padawan, with the braid. So this is early. I'd say this is probably the years between episodes 1 and 2. But what they didn't, and it boggles my mind that Disney did not do this. Why in the world, when you've done it multiple times on Marvel films, why did you not de-age digitally these characters? Because supposedly, let me do some math. It's about 20, 25 years between the time that I think this duel takes place and when Kenobi happens. Because this duel, since he's still a Padawan, happens around Attack of the Clones. And then I think it's, maybe even just as little as 15. Because I think the Clone Wars happens between, they occur 3 to 5 years between 2 and 3. I'm not sure. Yes, that's what they should have done. They did the same thing with Carrie Fisher at the end of Rogue One. They digitally recreated her for Rogue One as she looked during episode 1, because Rogue One happens minutes before episode 1. That's what they should have done. But for some reason, I don't know why they didn't do it. And it really took me out of the duel. You have this duel with Anakin being pretty vicious. I was worried for a second. Is he going to injure Obi-Wan? I was thinking he's going to do something he's later going to regret. And it really showed off the viciousness that Anakin was capable of. I would say it was an early sign of the dark side of within him, that him being the venerated chosen one, supposedly, no one was willing to see. Not even Mace Windu or Yoda. They didn't see it, and surprised me that Mace never saw it. He never did trust fully Anakin. We saw that through episodes 2 and 3. But Master Windu was he always, for a lot of people, Windu was closer to a gray Jedi than an actual Jedi. He towed the line between the light side and the dark side. But it really, the de-aging process or lack thereof, really took me out of that duel. But and it was a shame. Disney has really improved that technology. I remember first seeing it in Ant-Man when we saw Hank Pym back in the 80s. They really they de-aged him, but there was something to me that if you looked at the mouth early on in the de-aging, when de-aging started coming around, you didn't really see the muscles move in the mouth or the lower face. Yeah, I see that in that's why I say this dual flashback happens around Attack of the Clones, because we still see his braid, and the braid is the sign of a Padawan. Obi-Wan had one in episode 1 when he was still Qui-Gon's student. Because in the early 2000s, Cartoon Network did a little micro miniseries, and one episode had Anakin's being knighted, and that's one thing that they do. The presiding Jedi master, the Grand Master, in this case Yoda, he knights him like a knight in medieval England, but the last nod, they slice off his Padawan braid, and he sends it to Padme, showing that he's moving up. But yeah, I agree. You saw this. You saw this anger in him, and I think partially it was Obi-Wan's fault. Obi-Wan at times, especially in episode 2, very condescending. And I think for a young man who is being told, and at this point in episode 2, been told for like 10 years, you're the chosen one, you're going to bring balance to the Force, you're very important. It's kind of gone to his head, and you see that a little bit. And then when circumstances don't support that, he gets very angry. But one thing we see in Obi-Wan that, I know when this was revealed, a lot of people, including myself, were very disappointed in this. the Grand Inquisitor. Oh boy, what do I say about him? Now, Rupert Friend, I've never seen him act in anything. I checked out his filmography and I'd never seen him in anything. But the character was introduced in Star Wars Rebels with this very specific look. And oh boy, they failed at translating that look from the show to Obi-Wan. It's the makeup, the suit looks great. The suit looks exactly like I should, but the makeup looked like paper mache in my opinion. The head shape was wrong because we actually see other members of his race in episode 3. It's the planet that Obi-Wan's trying to liberate when Order 66 comes in. And they're tall, they're thin, their heads fit with that look, the tall, thin is. This guy, he does not fit with the rest of his species. And it bothered me. So let's see. We had what some say would called the samurai of space. You know, we don't see much of Fifth Brother. We see and here's the one everyone went on about. Moses Ingram as third sister. Now, first of all, I'm going to say this, and I've always said this. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, green, blue. The thing I ask is, can you act? Now, I've seen people who are able to take the simplest ideas when we're acting and turn it into something amazing. But Moses Ingram, I don't think she was given good material. You know, by episode 3, I kind of figured out her backstory already. You know, when the first scene of Obi-Wan, the series, is the night of Order 66. And we see it through the eyes of younglings being slaughtered. And just the way her viciousness, I think, up until the point it's revealed that she wants to kill both Vader and Obi-Wan. I think they were the faces of Order 66. So I figured out she was one of the young survivors by episode 3. It was just like, okay, if I can figure this out, and I'm not a smart guy, your writing is very lacking if I can figure it out. Yeah, Shirts, he did not fit with the rest of his people. Now, some might say, oh, well, his story is he was a Jedi. He was one of the temple guards that was raised at the temple in Coruscant. But that wouldn't change him physically. He didn't fit. And I think Moses Ingram getting back to Third Sister, I checked it out. I think this was her first on-screen acting role. I think I've seen it said she's only done a few things in theater. Now, it was good seeing a strong female villain. I think that was lacking in some Star Wars, but I think they could have done so much more with Third Sister. And one thing I did love about the show was that Hayden Christensen played shirts. Yes, yes. Y'all better stay on the light side of the force, or you'll come a short little guy like me, who's full of anger and rage. And a Jedi craves not all those things. But Hayden Christensen played Darth Vader in both in the suit and everything. It was great having him back. I was really happy. And people like, oh well, Anakin was this whiny little bitch. No, yes, to an extent, but when you have your entire world collapse around you and realize that, hey, cool frog, thanks for joining me, man. I was just talking about everyone's favorite Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. We see his world, and he's been fed lies by Palpatine from the very beginning. You know, I think at the end of episode 1, Palpatine had the gears in his head moving of how could I use this kid? You know, he's not completely indoctrinated. Since he's starting the Jedi training way too old. True. Sure, it's true. But and they even got James Earl Jones to come back to do the voice. I mean, you can't have Darth Vader without that booming, deep voice of James Earl Jones. Let's see. And we've already talked about Princess Leia. You know, I think she's gonna. I think Blair is going to be a good actress when she gets older. But and this is what I liked. I always thought, you know, I love seeing Tala. You know, we saw a Imperial officer defect. I think it was really good, and it was a shame what happened to her. You know, I'm gonna leave that for y'all to see. Let's see who else is on this list. See, we got different Jedi. Owen, Uncle Owen, yes, and little Luke. We got little Luke, which I was glad that they didn't just ignore Luke. I can't. Yes, you might even grow a third arm, America shirts. And this one thing I liked, they got Jimmy Smits to come back as Bail Organa. You know, I was really happy to see a lot of the cast from episodes 2 and 3 to come back. A lot of the original characters. And how this man gets work, I don't know. Here we have the fake Jedi. You know, we run into people using the Jedi's name trying to make a buck. And here we have Kumail Nanjiani, who he was okay. He started out as a comedian. You know, he was okay. I saw him on a few internet shows, but then we saw him in Eternals, and how, oh my God, I just he bores me. He's funny sometimes, and I don't know. And here, one thing I've always liked about Star Wars are their aliens. And this is one of the really good ones we saw early in the series, who, not a nice guy, but Freck, he's a pretty cool looking alien. You know, he looks like a mole, but it's real. Really well done. This is what, yeah, it's always about the money, you know. Shirts. It's always, but I would love to see these shows have more of a mix of actors with experience and new actors. We're seeing a lot of, I think, new actors in these roles. But all in all, I think the market is getting too saturated with these Star Wars shows. I remember being a kid, and yes, it was still trying to make a buck, but every we had the first three episodes, and then we had the digitally redone remastered shows, but they were special. They were. Now we're getting what, two or three more series this year alone. It's just, it's becoming quantity over quality when it should be the other way around. It it's getting, and no matter how poorly these shows or in movies do, Disney's just going to keep pumping them out because there's a select group that will go see them and like them no matter what. Now, I liked parts of Obi-Wan. I like parts of Boba Fett. I like parts of Mandalorian, but I haven't liked every. I haven't liked it all, and that's, to me, that's just my personal view. You can like it 100%. You can hate it 100%. That's fine by me. And I will say the final duel between Vader and Obi-Wan was just amazing. We saw them. One thing I've always liked in fights and duels on shows and movies is the opponents using the environment against their enemy. And we saw that a lot. At this point, Obi-Wan's fully back in his power, and it starts off when Vader kind of, I think, toying with him, and then Vader kind of getting over his overpowered. But it was a great done. It was an amazing duel. I think it's gonna. Oh, I called it. It's. Oh no, I was wrong. His mask was cut on the wrong side, on the opposite side than it was in Rebels. But it was still the same thing. It it's a major weakness in the character that I wish they would stop exploiting. See, we see a glimpse of what Anakin has become, and I love the line when Obi-Wan sees us. He's just completely floored. He's just so aghast, and he asks Vader, "What have you become?" And Vader has an amazing line that I think sums up how far he's fallen at this point. This is what 15 years before he's redeemed. He has the line, "I am what you made me," which just puts into perspective all the lies that Palpatine has told him. Because when he becomes Vader, when he's put in the suit at the end of Episode 3, the first thing he asks Palpatine, "Where's Padme?" And what does Padme say? I mean, what does Palpatine say? He lies. He says, "You killed her." And it's just another lie to control him. And of course, he blamed the Jedi for all these problems that he faced. That through a mix of the Jedi aren't blameless, but they're not 100% to blame like Anakin. But it was a good show. Was it necessary? No. Was it entertaining in some parts? Yes. Was it annoying in some parts? Yes. Did it have a sense of urgency when you saw characters being chased, or this duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin? Did we really have a sense of, oh, they're about to die, one of them is about to die? No, because we all knew the answers. We knew the outcomes of everything that was happening in the show. But the show showed the roads taken to these outcomes of the destinations, and the show, I think, showed showed the destination, the way these characters got to the ends that they did. We start off saying Obi-Wan, he's a little too involved with Luke. He's known. He even has a day job. He does this meat processing thing. I don't know. And he lives in a cave, just like maybe a mile, not far off. We don't see the hut that he has in Episode 4. And we saw him trying to get away from that Jedi ideal of serving people, serving the poor, in order to do what he needed to for the greater good. But it was, if I had to give this show a grade, I'd say probably a B-, maybe a 7 out of 10. It was decent. And I'm hoping and I pray that Disney will finally realize that quantity is not better than quality, because I feel like that's where Disney is now. They want to drown us in these franchises. They want to push these franchises down our throats so much, and sadly, we seem to be just throwing our money at it. And I hope that changes sometime. But at this point, it does not look like it. But I would recommend this show to only the diehard Star Wars fans, the ones that have to watch it. So that's my thoughts of the show. Leave a like and comment, share your views of the show. I'd love to hear them. Tell me how I'm wrong, but you better come with facts. So, I enjoyed the show. Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors, but I think the show, it wasn't necessary. So, and that's all it comes down to. Hey, Frog, that's cool, Frog. I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm not saying watch it. That's just my views. I would never want to tell someone not to watch it. It did have some great moments. It really showed one thing before I log off. It showed now this was the Empire at their height of power. This was before the rebellion was able to take hold. So we see them slowly getting an iron grip on the galaxy. And that's one thing I wish we'd just seen more of. We saw a little bit of it in, I think, episodes 3 and 4, 2, 3, and 4. I would have loved to see more of that. I would love to see the Empire at its height more in the. I would love to see the Empire more at the height in industrial, more civilized worlds like Coruscant and Corellia, or not more in the inner ring of the galaxy than the outer ring, which we've seen most of in these shows. But this is just my opinion. Like I said, like, subscribe, comment, share. I'd love to get more people in here. But, thanks for listening. And this is the transmission from the Outpost Nerd.